Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, over me hills to Country, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Asoni Sied. A pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia. If you are just joining us, we want to say thanks for joining us. Do us a favor by sharing the broadcast with somebody in your contact. We have a serious conversation to have here, something reflective. The nation Sierra Leone is so similar to the nation's Liberia in many ways. But have we come to put some thoughts in it, how similar they are? Well, our focus here is simple. With this topic, how are things in the Republic of Sierra Leone? How are the people of Sierra Leone doing? In so many ways, Sierra Leone, as I said earlier, is similar to the nation Liberia. We have similar needs and similar challenges. The people of Sierra Leone and the people of Liberia culturally are similar in so many ways. But have we had a conversation on the similarities and, if possible, differences? Our challenge is similar. We will be looking at education in Sierra Leone. We'll be looking at roads in Sierra Leone. How are they doing with roads in Sierra Leone? We'll be looking at electricity. Do they have it? Is it reliable? Water and sanitation. How are they doing in that area? Civil war, ethnic groups, history of settlers, the economy. How are they doing? The young people always have been the focus, right? How are they doing in terms of employment? We want to talk about youth empowerment in Sierra Leone. How are the people of Sierra Leone doing? Agriculture, we got to put some food on the table. Are they doing better? Are they feeding themselves? Well, the focus is Sierra Leone, and the topic couldn't be succinct. how are things in the Republic of Sierra Leone. To do this, to provide the information and analysis, we have for you a gentleman. Edward Amara is focused on Liberia, West Africa correspondent, and he joined us from Colahome. Is that correct, Edward? How you doing?
I'm doing good and I feel happy joining you far, far in the east of Sierra Leone, that is Kailahun district, which is also related to the northern part of Liberia. Is given out to Guinea and very close to Liberia. I'm joining you in the district where the civil war started in Sierra Leone and where it ended. We will have the first case of Ebola, although it was finally declared in the northern part of the country. And Sierra Leone is historically good into this part of our country. So welcome, I feel elated to join you on this hot Tuesday afternoon.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. And folks in cyberspace, those joining us by way of the internet and across the globe, we can welcome you enough to this uncensored conversation concerning how things are in the Republic of Sierra Leone. If you are a Liberian, you want to be here to follow the discussion. We've heard many things. How Sierra Leone is either doing better than Liberia. We want to have an idea today, and that is the essence of this conversation. Edward Amara is well suited to be our chief discussant today. He lives in Sierra Leone. He is a Liberian as well, but he has been in Sierra Leone. So he knows a thing or two about these two countries. And the fact that he lives in Sierra Leone, he's well suited to tell us, from the perspective of an individual who experienced it all. Edward, let's get started here. Let me not get ahead of myself. I think the first thing I want us to start with, Edward, let's start with the history of settlers. Here in Liberia, we heard about the settlers coming and helping with the help of the indigenous to establish the nation Liberia. Talk to me. What is the little history, as briefly as you can, for settlers in Sierra Leone? Do we have people that settle in Sierra Leone, and did they help to create the nation Sierra Leone? Tell me what you know.
Well, the foundation of Sierra Leone is absolutely similar to that of Liberia. Sierra Leone was founded in 1847 by free slaves, 1827 by free slaves. And these free slaves were known as the Black Poles. Before the foundation of Sierra Leone, we had before this time we have maybe the Portuguese known as Pedro da Centra actually sailed in Sierra Leone in 1462. He came actually to see maybe just on exploration. He discovered a mountain that is in Freetown capital where we have Plateau, and he decided that this area is he called it Sierra Leone in Portuguese language. It simply means lion-like. So he met some Africans over there. He just actually took them in a form of for him to go and evangelize to them. When these people actually tried on the sugarcane plantation, they realized that these people were actually good and they were very good at working in the hot sun. But by then it ended everything, so there was no too much interest. But when that actually laid the foundation for the Europeans to be coming into Africa, taking slaves to go with them actually in the Western world. But when it finally in the 1900s, Britain's started industrialization, started to come into Britain. And by then, they used to rely on these free slaves for them to actually perform their hard labor. So having realized that the blacks were no longer important to them for physical work, when they invented machines, so they decided to call this black Poles. They were being discriminated in the street of London. Some of them were actually seen as paupers, nuisance, and they will go around making certain noise. They classify them to be classless people, and they belong to nowhere. So that, they have the like of Gravin Sharp, who was actually a humanitarian. They have William Wilberforce, who was definitely a parliamentarian. Then Thomas Clarkson, who was also another politician. So they came together to say, okay, let us create a kind of a society. We'll have the Black Poor being advocated for, so that we can actually cater for them. But after realizing that the little contribution that they have actually been doing was not too good enough to maintain the domestic affairs of these people, they say, okay, well, if that be the case, since they're having a pauper societies, people from the Caribbean and other countries are actually catering for their own citizens, then why not us try to repatriate these people into West Africa? So that was how come now they decided that they used Pedro da Central exploration and Henry Smithman, who was actually a botanist. He visited Sierra Leone and he realized that crops and animals were actually living on the soil. So they said that area is capable for people to actually live on. So they decided to approach the people by then. So, okay, since these people are black poor, let's try to repatriate them into Sierra Leone. So they actually came with them in 1827. They founded the colony known as Sierra Leone, but it was actually established in Freetown, and Freetown was only the area where they came to establish. So by then, they started coming with these people. They were actually known as the black poor, people who have been discriminated. Then, like, Britain has some cooperation with Nova Scotia. It's actually in Canada. So when the American lost it, when Britain lost the war to America War of Independence, those who are actually living in Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is actually a province in Canada. They also repatriated them into Great Britain. They took those free slaves to come with them also in Sierra Leone. So by the time this thing was definitely increasing, to cut long matter short, so they realized that Sierra Leone has been discovered like a kind of free slave. And Britain by then, since Britain had gained industrialization, they invented machines. So they put their ships on the high sea, trying to sanction ships who were actually going with slaves. So all of those slaves who have been caught on the high sea, they were known as recaptive. That is why if you are caught by slavers and they were about to take you and you are recaught or captured on the high sea, that is why they said the recaptive. Immediately you are caught, then why you en route to Great Britain or to the European war, you never reached and they took you back. So they described them to be as recaptive. They came with them in Freetown. They taught them the civilization of white man. So that's why they were known as recaptive. They settled there. Just the way we have the Americo-Liberian is how we call these people in Sierra Leone, Creoles. So the Creole language became like an amalgamation, a mixture of different people within Africa. Some people are Ghanaian, some of them are Nigerians. You even see a Sierra Leonean named Kofi. Some of them are definitely named Imeka, other people, but they are actually mixed. So some of that is where you have Congo Town in Sierra Leone. You have in Freetown, you have Flat. You have different areas, naming that these people actually originated, or they named those areas from their areas of origin. So that's how Sierra Leone became founded. And by the time industrialization took place fully, they annexed the protectorate, and the protectorate became part of Sierra Leone. So in the colony, those who are living in the colony are known as British subjects. Those who are living in the protectorate are known as the British protected people in reward of protection, like food and whatsoever thing. So in simple, that was how Sierra Leone became founded. It was actually founded to repatriate free slaves, those who were living in the Western world, especially Great Britain.
Great analysis there, Edward. Thank you. And the similarities I see that is that just as Liberia as a nation was founded with with the help of free slaves coming from the United States, and so they found a piece of land that was purchased according to history, and that place was named Liberia, from the word liberty. And so Sierra Leone too is similar in that way. Great piece of history and analysis there, and thank you for providing that. I know you mentioned they have Congo Town in Liberia. We have Congo Town as well. Great piece of history, similarities, people who came from other parts of the world coming to that part of Africa and helping to form a nation. We are similar in so many ways there. So let's talk about the ethnic groups in Sierra Leone. Briefly, as much as you can, how many ethnic groups do we have in Sierra Leone, and how are they similar to Liberia?
But basically, we have around 18 ethnic groups into Sierra Leone, and including others, and they are very similar to that of Liberia, because you have people who are actually original settlers into Sierra Leone, and those who they claim that they came. Like if you talk about the Limbas, the Bulong, the Shabru, these people claim that sometimes they will even tell you that they have no history of migration, but that they were originally on the soil of Sierra Leone. What other tribes who actually came, and some other tribes here actually became a tribe out of the amalgamation. fusion. But similarly, we like two tribes coming together, maybe after fusion or having a marital relationship, like it became a tribe because of fusion or tribe. Let's look like the Creole. The Creole language is an established language into Sierra Leone, but originally the Creole we are not part of Sierra Leone. But they actually, the Creole is born out of, or was born out of those free slaves that are being caught on the high seas. As I was saying, people we are coming from different parts of the world. Some of them we are French-speaking people. Some of them we are Portuguese-speaking people. Some of them we are like different. I mean, just say some of them we came from Ghana. Some of them came from Nigeria. Some of them came from DRC, Congo. Some of them came from Senegal. But they were all being caught on the high sea, and we are repatriated into Sierra Leone. So those different languages came together. They decided now to form a common way of speaking, how they can communicate in the colony. So that is why when they established Freetown, it was not initially known as Freetown. It was first called as Province of Freedom, because people were told when you get into Sierra Leone, you become free. And later on, it became known as Freetown. By the time in 1808, it was declared like a colony. A colony means like a country that is under the protection of another country. Then you have people like the Mende. The Mende, they will tell you that it's born out of the Mani people. They actually came from Mali when Queen Masariko fell out with her overlord. She decided to come. But initially, the Mende actually migrated. The Mani migrated into Liberia in the 1600s. They settled in Grand Cape Mount County. So by little, they started coming into Sierra Leone. So when they came into Sierra Leone, they were actually acting like warriors. They established themselves. Like you have the Fulanis who have their history from Guinea, from Puerto Jalo into Guinea. You have the Yalonka, or they actually left from Jalokadu, that is in Guinea. They came as traders. They also have like the Maningos, we are actually an affiliation of the Mende and Timini people. So you have the Shabu, who we are definitely known, they could be around the river of Sierra Leone. The Portuguese used to call them like the Saps. So they were people who live along the coast. So these people are also founded there. Okay. Like the Kisi people who are also found into Liberia, they emanate from like a kind of Congo Basin area. Maybe they came from bar areas, like it's a kind of Nanja speaking way of people. Some of them came from like places like Kenya. Then also you have the Limba. The Limba, we claim that they do not have any history of migration. They were originally found into Sierra Leone. They are there, they transacted most of those things. They said that even the Bulong will tell you that we do not have no history of migration. They have the Cream, and also they have like the Timini, like when Sierra Leone was being founded, they have like King Nine Benan, King Tommy. That was why, in fact, when they came, they were the first people that the European bought, exchanged to buy land into freedom, pure amount of goods. They exchanged them with shillings, and they gave them this white man goods so that they can have those things. So when you watch at it, we have similar tribes that are actually in Liberia. They are actually found into Sierra Leone, especially like the Kisis and the Mendes. They are found into Liberia. They are also found into Sierra Leone. They have certain tribes that are actually originally just into Liberia. Like if we name like the Gio, the Manon, the Pele, the Gribbles, they're actually only in Liberia. But we also have the Golas who are also in Sierra Leone. They are in Liberia. You also have the Bai who are also in Sierra Leone. They're in Liberia. But there are certain tribes that are originally found into Liberia. You can only find them across the border with Ivory Coast, but they are definitely not here. But for the sake of Mende, they are the Bok tribe into Sierra Leone, followed by the Timini and maybe the Fula, the Limba, and we also have the Fula. Like the Fulas now, they are found into Liberia, also found into Sierra Leone because they have similar route of migration, maybe out of trading at the same time in the spread of Islam, and they also found into Liberia, like the Fula, the Maningos, the Kisis, the Bai, the Gulas. These are similar tribes that are actually found into Liberia, and they are also found there. So most of them, they came either through trade, some of them came through the spread of religion, some of them came through migration. Some of them will tell you that they do not have any history of migration. And when you watch at it, very close to Liberia, in Liberia, like where I'm currently broadcasting from, this is in Kailan district. You have a tribe known by like the Kisis, which I am a constituent of. It was only colonial boundary delimitation that separated this tribe. But when you cross it from here, from Kailan, if you leave here, cross into Guinea, you meet the Kisis. Cross into Liberia, you meet the Kisis. And when you come into Australia, you meet the Kisis. We tell you that it is only the Mano River. Here they call it the Makona River. It's the only one that separates them, or they are separated the three countries, but all of them are found the same way. So like, of course, the Bai and the Gulas, they are found actually in the southern part of Sierra Leone, and they gave way to like a Grand Cape Mount County. That is why if you cross from Liberia into Grand Cape Mount County, the first tribe that you meet, it will be like those Bai speaking people and also the Mende speaking people. But because of the bias now is becoming like an extinct language, they are being dominated actually by the Mende. Similarly, but although most of them are actually found into Liberia, but those guys who are found into Sierra Leone, because of a minute number of them, most of them are actually speaking Mende now. But to Liberia, if you tell somebody that you are a Mende, because of the bulk number of people that are actually found into Sierra Leone, they would think and feel that you are a Sierra Leonean. But originally, from the 1600s, the Mendes actually left from Mali. They came and settled to Grand Cape Man County. When their overlord, Queen Masariko, fell out with her overlord, the queen of the Mendes, that is they call them the Mani. That is Queen Masariko. She fell out with her overlord within the Mali Empire, so she came and settled in the 1500 in Grand Cape Man County. By the 1600, they became into warriors. They used to call themselves like the Sombas. They would either ask you for peace or they end up to eat you. That is why by norms they conquer a lot of territory into Sierra Leone, especially in the south and the eastern part of the country. But bulk number of them are actually found into Sierra Leone, but they are also found into Liberia. In fact, in Liberia, they have a district in Liberia by the name of Bahun. It is actually part of Lofa County. That is where the Mendes are found. But they are also part of the Grand Cape Man County, because Grand Cape Man County shares border with Pujol, which is actually in the south, and you find some of this vibe. So you can see that we have similar culture, and even the names, they will, except because the manner in which we pronounce things, that is how you start to know that this person is Sierra Leone, is Liberian, but they speak the same language, the same culture, and there is no difference in terms of growth or appearance.
Thank you. So we have Kisi in Liberia, Kisi in Sierra Leone, VAD in Sierra Leone. We have VAD in Liberia. What's about Pele?
Gola.
Yeah, Gola. Yeah. Do you have
the Peles are in Guinea? Yeah, Peles are in Guinea, but they are not in Sierra Leone. But Peles are in Guinea and they are also in Liberia.
Okay.
Then you have certain like the Guios and Mano are found in Ivory Coast and Liberia, but these people are not found into Sierra Leone. Then you also have the Maningos and Fulas. They are in Sierra Leone as well as in Liberia. Okay. But when somebody tells you, think that,
right? You mentioned the Fula people. Fulanis are in
Liberia. The Fula people. Yes.
Okay. Which ethnic group is the largest? Which ethnic group is the largest in Sierra Leone?
In Sierra Leone, when APC conducted census in 2010, in 2015, they claimed that the Mendes were the Timini were the largest. But when SFP conducted census in midterm census in 2020, which of course I was a constituent of, the census result came that the Mende are the largest. So that is the differences between them. But just like something like just 1 to 2% difference. So on record now, it is the Mende who are like the largest tribe, followed by the Timini, then the Limba. They also have the Fulas and others. So that is how it is. And our dominant religion here is like, unlike Liberia, which is Christian, here is more of like a Muslim nation, because majority of Sierra Leoneans, around 78% of Sierra Leoneans are actually Muslims.
Wow. I didn't know this. I'll be very honest about it. I know. Wow. Thank you, Edward. Well, let's talk about civil war. Like Liberia, Sierra Leone had a civil war. Talk to me. I'm sure you have knowledge of the Liberian Civil War too. What would be your explanation in terms of similarity with the two separate wars that happened in these two separate countries?
Well, the war first started in Liberia in 1989, but the same foundations that the war fought in Sierra Leone was also very similar. Although by then in Liberia, you have somebody who came and overthrew a very sitting government, killed some government sitting officers. So there was that kind of bone and intention that something will definitely happen, like the regime of Samuel Cade or Samuel Kayondo. Unlike in Sierra Leone, you have an elected government under Siaka Stevens, who led the country for over 24 years. He created what he called a one-party system and tribalized the country. And he created certain things that everybody, we all know and understand that it's just a matter of time. But Sierra Leone was definitely on the brink of going into civil war. By the 1980s, only few youth in Sierra Leone were actually educated. You have a one-party system that was so tribalistic, nepotist, favoritist, and it became so draconian. So youth were actually emanated from the country, and because of the level of high illiteracy, so the like of like Fude Sabina Sanko, who actually led the Civil War, have the opportunity maybe to just have his market to preach to this youth. So when the war in Sierra Leone, Liberia broke in 1989, you can see by 1993, that was the first time on the 25th of March that the war actually came into Sierra Leone, out of actually what was happening into Liberia. But when he came with the Civil War, most youth were actually deprived. They were illiterate. They could not analyze situation, and what they call bad governance was actually on what definitely was the order of the day. And with the mentality of one party system, it was only the APC who had power, who controls everything, and everybody that must actually win election must be part and parcel of APC. That is the All People Congress. A lot of other parties were banned, and some politicians were being caught, tortured. Youth actually fled the area. Illiteracy was so high. Poverty or abject poverty was definitely the order of the day, and certain people were so disgruntled. They felt that Sierra Leone was living like an elitist society, but the elitism was definitely based on political link instead of education. And when poverty was on the hem of affairs, illiteracy was so high. So when Fude Sanko came with his war in March of 1993, he had a kind of market already ready, because youth we are being deprived. And when they said that is why they came and called themselves as freedom fighters. They said they came to eliminate corruption, do away with bad governance, ensure that everybody has his or her own rights, and those who are actually depriving them from their own right, like having being part and parcel of the national cake, will definitely be eliminated and prosecuted, if not sent to prison, and they could pay for those things. They had the easy way to communicate to these people, and the job market was definitely available, because there was no accountability, high level of corruption, there was no justice system, like the judicial system was flooded. You have a one-party state. Then above all, when they knew other changes, like when Esiaka Stephen gave a step down, he came with another person who was arguably like a political novice, another Limba person, that is Joseph Saidu Momo. He was actually a Sierra Leone army major who came into power, but he came into power like an illiterate. He doesn't, let me just say, political novice, though he was educated and at the same time high military caliber, because he went into training to places like Nigeria, and by then he was one of the respected officers within Sierra Leone. But he was not actually trained to lead the country. Rather, Siaka Stevie decided to single-handedly appoint him, and also conducted a fraudulent election that enabled him to win, because he needed somebody who he could use as a puppet, then protect his own back, instead of coming with somebody who is highly educated, absolutely intelligent, that can easily checkmate the system, maybe call him back to book. So by then, Siaka Stephen took over, Joseph Saidu Momon took over. Liberia was definitely at war. So all of this situation, we are not too good, and the similar thing that Liberia was going into war for, like you have those messages. Just yesterday came that he came like a freedom fighter, he came to eliminate Liberia from corruption, he preached all of those things, the job market was there. So those things were easily bought over. When Sabina Fude Sanko, when he got trained, he came and crossed with the war, the like of Sam Bokari, who is known as Mosquito. Some people tell you that he was a kissy man, other people will tell you that he was a corner man, some people will tell you that he was a dancer, he sometimes acted as a barber in Africa. He had the kind of queer history. So these are all just half-baked educated people, and they will tell you that in the society, the half-educated people are the most dangerous people, and these are the half-educated people that they use, and they use them against their own people. That was why the war that happened into Sierra Leone was more like a reprisal war. That is why it was so brutal, because it's like a taken vengeance. It was like avenging what some people might have done to them. Also, some were actually doing it out of revenge. So it depends on on whom you talk to and who participated in the war. Some people actually participated in the war to take an revenge on what they did to their parents. While some people were actually into the war to revenge on the society. That is why you see when the war came in, most societies were burned down. Some villages were eliminated. Some people were brutally killed. It is because of what happened before the war. And that thing, I think similar history also participated into Liberia. There were state institutions were being attacked, tribes were being killed. Sometimes you may even think and feel that the war was taken with tribal mentality, just like what happened into Liberia, like the Gio and the crime going against themselves. In Liberia, in Sierra Leone, it wasn't like that. But because both rebels, most of those, in fact, in Liberia, you have, except when the CDS, like the civil defense force that was being formed, was normally known like the Mende kind of way of fighting, because the civil defense force, CDS, that was why we are formed. But it took another range as if it was like a tribal mentality. By the end of the day, most of other tribes are actually found within the CDS, like the civil defense force. Given the fact that most of the provinces or in the district where the CDF was being formed, you have different tribes into it, and they regard themselves as brothers and sisters who could defend it. Unlike in Liberia, like you have the Gios, the Mano, like the Yulumuke, this, that, which form themselves maybe on tribal basis, like the Yulumu, or something like Jojo, the one that was Alaji GB Kuruman form. You could see the Manigo mentality itself, like Sheku Damati, Kones, and other. Then we see like the Gio, the Mano, going against the Maningo. So all of those things were there. It is because like when Lou was also in power, how he eliminated most of those Gios and Manos, all of those mentality we are from. Unlike in Sierra Leone like that, but similar things were happening.
So many similarities there, talking about the civil war that took place in Sierra Leone and the other one that took place in Liberia. So they have warlords, we have warlords. And also some ethnic groups were being targeted for some reason. The civil war broke out or was persecuted on the basis of the fact that, well, there was corruption in government and the people needed to hold others accountable. Similarities that good analysis there by you, Edward. Let us talk about the things that, the basic social services in Sierra Leone. How is education in Sierra Leone as brief as you can? How is the educational system there now?
Well, I actually left in Guinea in 2003. That was the first time I ever set foot on Sierra Leone, on the soil of Sierra Leone, because I actually practically grew up into Guinea. We never knew anything about the war. So I set foot in Sierra Leone in 2003. To be honest, when I came, the education system by then, it was the SAPP that was in power. It was not actually politicized, and it was not used like a weaponized thing against one party system. It was more like holistic, more patriotic. The education system was standardized. By then, in fact, we are not even used to any electronic system. We studied very hard to ensure that we passed through our WAS examination, that is the West Africa Examination Council, and even the basic education, that is the BECE, where you graduate to 9th grade, like in Liberia, here it's called JSS3 or grade 9. You see to your BECE, then they have what they call the MPSC, that is the basic primary school education. You have to be in your classic level and see. It was actually standardized. You see somebody who is very young, the person will tell you that I'm in class 6, they will definitely perform the work of a class 6. They can take dictation, they will read, they will speak very well, and you understand. So from then, by 2000, from 2003 to 2007, even around 2010, the Sierra Leone education system was very fine. However, that was the priority of the SAPP, because they thought and felt by then that one of the reasons why the war was very quick to have a market into Sierra Leone is because of the high level of illiteracy. And you can realize that you two are born in the in the 70s, given towards the 80s, or even as far as the 90s, most of them, we are not educated. And those who are educated, we are some of we who we are actually given birth into Guinea. We grew up there. When we came like those refugees, you had the opportunity to go into the refugee school. There was a kind of disparity because you could read, you could write, you could understand, you can take what justifiable decision. But most of those people thought that maybe one of the main reasons why war came and how it got into Sierra Leone is because there was a high level of illiteracy. But after SAPP was defeated in the 2007 general election, APC took over. When APC took over the election system, they changed the flagship program of SAPP to that of what first they came into energy and power, they could not succeed. So they went into road construction, they could not succeed. Finally, they changed their system, their flagship program to free health care. That is free health for all people, especially like the lactating mother, that is 2 years, pregnant women. Then also children under the age of 5. Vulnerable and sometimes handicapped. So they decided to prioritize these people. So the education system became a bastardized and relegated one. So by the time in this 2010, coming to 2011, 12, 13, you saw that electronic was being, we have electronic system like, of course, cell phones started coming into around 2002 to 2003. So by the time maybe around like 2011 to 12, we started having issues like WhatsApp, Facebook. So some of us started using it, and we saw education system started to dwindle because most of them could not study. All of those things were happening, and we come on the face of WhatsApp and doing whatsoever. So APC definitely abandoned the education system. It became nothing good to actually write home about. Nothing good. So you can even see somebody tells you that I am a degree student. That person cannot do anything a degree student. Some people can even have double masters in Sierra Leone, to be very honest. They are definitely not good. There's nothing good to hammer home about them. When that education system died down because of a change of priority in the governance system. So finally, after APC 11-year leadership or rule, we saw the SFPP coming. When the SFPP came in 2018, they decided that education is still a tool that can transform Sierra Leone. Let's come with free education. Now we're having free education system into Sierra Leone. But when the free education system is being politicized, you understand that the quality of the education is dropped, absolutely dropped. Reason being, children are being promoted not because for merit, but to promote like what I call political agenda. Because with high level of enrollment, they have high level of high school leaving certificate given to students. And you have high level of student enrollment into colleges and universities. When you watch at it by norms, by default, by appearance, by the manner of input and output of these pupils, they could actually by norm be into their junior secondary school or into their senior secondary school. Those students actually found themselves into university and college. I'm saying this, in fact, I had the opportunity when I was actually attending into the university. I was also like acting like a student teacher. And I'm also a teacher. So you see, those things definitely drop down. So you will see that the education system now is being politicized. As long as just like when our free care system is being politicized, you can see that they will tell you that there is free care, but in actual fact, there are a lot of challenges because we do not reach we are not capable of declaring Sierra Leone like a free care place because we cannot invent drugs on our own. We cannot produce anything. Unlike China will tell you that they have free care because they have hospitals that have industries on their own. They have medical doctors, they have physicians that produce tablets on their own, and they have all of this established. So if the government takes money, instead of them going out into the Americas or Europe to go and buy drugs, they buy it from state institutions like hospitals who provide or invent drugs on their own, manufacture drugs on their own. So you see that those transform the health system. That is not what is happening here because these things are being politicized and bulk of the number of people of what we use actually being bought outside there. Coming to our free education system, a lot of you that are actually graduating. You have young people into colleges, maybe 19, 18, 17, they're even 16 years old are found into university and colleges here because they have clear, colorful results. But there is a total disconnect between them and the result that they are showing. You can even see somebody who is not matching up to the result he or she is holding, but yet they claim because these things is politicized or the education system be politicized, they have clear-cut results released by the West Africa Examination Council, and they get into the university and colleges that definitely don't match enough to the system. So honestly speaking, our education system is absolutely relegated. By then, Sierra Leone used to be called the Anthem of Africa or West Africa. It was because we were on the enchilor of education system. You have the like of Jala University. In fact, people living from Nigeria, the Gambia, the British speaking West African countries, most of them attended FBC, that is the Furubi College. But now, you are now seeing our education system definitely becoming questionable. In fact, there are certain people, when you go on social media, you communicate with this, they will tell you that I'm a master holder. In fact, let me tell you one thing. Many a time, somebody will be in Sierra Leone, he or she will want to apply for a job. They are not even capable of writing a common formal letter to apply for a job. They will come to us. We have to apply for them. They are youth into university and colleges. They are unable to write dissertation on their own. They pay us. That is how we survive. They come and write those dissertation for them. So even when somebody is given a task to go and deliver certainty, they come to us for guidance. I'm not saying it is wrong. All of us are not gifted in terms of the cognitive domain. But if somebody tells you that I am a degree student, they should match up to that standard. But definitely it's a dwindle one. It's nothing good to write home about. They are seeing high level of student intake in both universities and high schools, but definitely they are not reflecting this because our education system have taken a political agenda and it is even their work to have high level enrollment, high level of student graduating from both university and high school, but it is definitely not reflecting. So there is a total disconnect of what is being written on paper and the actual thing. Empirically, is a bastardized one.
You know, Edward, I see a lot of similarities there based on what you just explained. I am told in Liberia from the 60s and 70s, education was of quality. I'm told people came from Nigeria, people came from Ghana, and they came to Liberia to get education. And I have reason to believe because when you look at Liberian citizens who were in school from the 70s to the 80s, you know, their outputs actually can tell you, even those who just stopped in high school, the ability to write, the ability to communicate. Fast forward, you know, the war came and then the whole education system crumbled. Right now, you have people graduating from colleges in Liberia who can even write a lot of application. Some of them can even differentiate between the word I and the word A-R-E, you know. So similar situation there that you just explained, you know, people even getting masters, they can't even write a lot of application. You know, the standard has dwindled. That's the word you use. The standard is very poor, and up to now, we are yet to find our bearings when it comes to education. You talk about, you know, education somehow being politicized in Liberia. I mean, in Sierra Leone. I don't know if that is the case in Liberia because parties have changed hands here and there. I know President Weah launched a free education. I don't know what is trying to politicize this, but the standard, the similarity there is that the standard, you know, has come down very low. The system is not producing the best. Only those who are naturally smart and bright are the one coming out of these schools and doing better. For those who rely on the system, you know, to educate them, to make them to gain the skills and the ability, you know, academically, the system is not helping them, and that is sad. That you know, why other countries, you know, standards are either intact or, you know, up to an appreciable level. Ours, you know, completely declining, and that is sad. Let's talk about roads. Let's talk about electricity. Let's talk about sanitation. In Liberia, just that little city, Monrovia, has been the focus when it comes to sanitation. It's overpopulated. There's trash everywhere. We have cried, we've complained, and the city cannot be clean. The city is polluted when it comes to sanitation in Liberia. It's a sad situation that we have not been able to successfully and effectively clean our, you know, surrounding. I don't know whether it's the case in Sierra Leone. Liberia has been struggling to provide electricity for years. I live in the Ivory Coast. When I fled, you know, from the war, electricity was like 24/7 in Ivory Coast. I did not see that in Liberia. I'm told before the war, electricity in some cities. I'm from Grand Cru. There was never electricity anyway, but I lived in Sano for some time before the war. Yeah, there was electricity. It would go and come, but whenever it came, it was always reliable. Roads have been a problem in Liberia from generation. But the thing is that at some point, those roads in the 70s, I believe, you know, before the 80s, you know, people could try. I know that people could travel from Monrovia to my hometown, the Sasta in Grand Cru County, and probably they'll be on the road just about a day. But now, days, you know, and it's like everything just going down, and there's no significant improvement despite, you know, the war being advanced in terms of technology and all that. That's the situation. I don't know how it is in Sierra Leone when it comes to roads, electricity, water, and sanitation.
Let me start with the road. I think for the road system, for both Guinea and Liberia, Sierra Leone is a safe haven. Because I have traveled from, I think recently in 2022 December, I was there in Monrovia, and I left through Waterside, through Grand Cape Man, Bom, until Bomil. I also entered in Montserrado County, which is actually found in Monrovia. Sierra Leone is definitely a safe haven. Sierra Leone have vastly improved on their road network system. Almost all we have like 16 political district or administrative district, and we have 14 political district. We have a clean road network connecting all of those districts. Maybe some Liberians who are like me watching this our interview can definitely attest to that. If you leave from Liberia to come into Sierra Leone, immediately you cross the border at Bojela. That is like in Pujeon. Our road is very good, plain, constructed. Although you have some challenges, only in few areas, but not within the main district. The road system is actually good, unlike Liberia. Liberia is a huge challenge. It's a very, very huge challenge. So immediately you cross the border, they will even try to tell you. You can live just for a few hours, you will always struggle or found the traveling so boring when you are definitely in Liberia. But immediately you set foot on Sierra Leone, it's a safe haven. Even in Monrovia, I mean in Guinea, it's the same thing. When you are in Guinea, you cross the border to go and do anything over there, you find huge challenge because their own road system is also very, very a very huge challenge. But in Sierra Leone, our road system is very fine. Then let's see the light system. There's vast improvement also in the light system. Vast improvement in the light system because unlike in the, let me just say, like in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, it was really bad. Even coming to 2017, but since this government took over in 2018, they improved vastly on electricity. And up to now, we are having our own hydro system. The government is definitely working on to see how they can revive the hydro system, because now we are benefiting from this Ivory Coast light, but Sierra Leone also have their own hydro system they are definitely improving upon. So our light system, especially in Freetown and also in the district headquarter town, we have a light system. Anyway, I'm seated in Kailaon here. They are now trying to ensure that Kailaon is being connected on the national grid, and they also are providing solar system. So their light system is very good. And when it comes to the water system is a bit appalling. But commercially, water is available. Just like the plastic water that we have into Liberia, they're actually vastly improving on those things. But still, water is very costly into Sierra Leone because we rely on it to being produced into these factories. And what do they use to produce the water? It's light. And we do not actually have control over the light system because just like what is happening today between Russia and Ukraine has exacerbated our situation in Africa, because most of us rely on the gas that leave from Europe to come into Africa, because we have huge amount of crude oil resources into Africa, but we do not have the refineries to produce the final product here, except when Nigeria has just done one under Ali Dangote, but which is definitely not enough to cover the entire Africa. So you understand that irrespective of the water resources that we have into Sierra Leone, we still struggle to have enough water to drink. Reason being, we do not have the machinery to produce enough water on our own. So we are now finding out that we keep buying water. The water is sold there, especially like in Kailaon where I am. We have like that plastic water is sold around 10 leones. That is maybe 10 leones. It could be like $0.5. It is not up to $1, but $0.5. It is something like that. So you understand that water is also a very costly thing. But luckily enough, it is available. You can get it at any time. But because of the type of resources that we have, we are not actually expecting for us to be buying water at that type of costly level. But definitely, we are struggling to have enough water. And we also, so did you ask about agri?
Say again, Ero?
I think these are the three things that you have: water, road, and electricity.
Yes, those are the three that I asked for, and thank you for what you explained there. So let's talk about post-war elections. Since the war ended, Liberia has done significantly well in conducting free, fair, and transparent elections. It has never ever been perfect. I have my own huge dissatisfaction with some things that I believe we could have done way too better on. But it's fair to say that in 2005 we had our first election. It was done peacefully. Citizens participated. Some people believe that cheating went on. I, with no evidence in my possession, have that same feeling that the election was somehow state knowledge, and that it was tilted in favor of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and that is my opinion, and I'm not going to apologize for it. But it was peaceful, and Ellen got elected in 2011. We had another election. CDC boycotted that election, but again, to the credit of the Liberian people, they are the one I'm going to be crediting here. They participated, they accepted the results, and then we'll have another election in 2017. The one President Will won. Edward, please start listening. We have an election. I'm still speaking, Edward. We had an election in 2017. That is the election that President Weah won. Again, the election, citizens of Liberia participated, and the results were announced. I just don't like the fact that it will be taking sometime up to 10 days or sometimes 7 days for them to announce the final result of presidential election in a country with a population of less than 2 million people voting. I think that is unacceptable. I believe the National Election Commission should be able to do a better job to calculate the votes in, let's say, 48 hours. They should be able to do that. In fact, they should be able to do that in 24 hours. A day is enough if they have people in the field to do so. And then by-elections. By-elections are being conducted in Liberia. The opposition, for the most part, have been, the predominant winners of most of the by-elections, to put it right. Whereas the ruling party have won some of the by-elections. There are some by-elections that I believe, there was some foul play. There was a by-election in district number 15 in the Logantown area. Telia Ure contested against the CDC candidate. That election erupted into serious violence. That was unfortunate. There was another by-election in Lofa County. Bernie Samuka contested in that election against the CDC candidate. I believe the CDC played fair, and that is my observation, and I have the evidence to prove. We did an analysis of the results, and there was a foul play. But on the average, despite these, things that happened that were unfortunate, on the average, we've been able to conduct election, post-war elections in Liberia. I will put it at maybe 60%, and I wish it were at maybe 99 or maybe 90%. So yeah, that's all I can say about post-war elections in Liberia.
Yeah, I think to be fair enough, in terms of conducting elections, because elections happen during, okay, let me just say before, that is during the campaign time. The during is the poll days, and after, how people actually react to the election result. To be fair enough, Liberia has done fairly better compared to Sierra Leone. Although my first election I participated in was definitely the one that happened in 2018. I decided to vote. But like in 2017, 2007, that was when the SAPP lost the election to APC. By then we have the late president Ahmad Tijan Kaba, who handed over power peacefully to the former president now, Anes by Krumah. Then we realized that Anex did similarly what George Weah did. I mean, Solomon Bayawa, who was the vice president by then to Tijan Kaba, did similarly what George Weah did. We called, the only difference is that election results we have not been announced when George Weah called Joseph Nwabwakai and congratulated him. But with the like of SAPP, Solomon Bera was still thinking that he had the opportunity to win because of the election result that were being released by the newspapers into Sierra Leone. When finally Christian Atop declared the result in favor of Ernest Bai Koroma, that is the president-elect, Solomon Bera also called Ernest Bai Koroma to congratulate him with the notion that tension will be eased. However, because of the past tough history in the country, I think maybe like the current ruling party into Liberia is a bit older. The party elect now is a bit older than the party that was just defeated, the CDC. The CDC is a new party compared to Joseph Nwabwaka. So unlike in Sierra Leone, there's a bitter history between the APC and the SFPP. That happens even before when I was born. And SFPP was actually formed as a tool to fight for the people into the interior. The APC, by then, they do not even have a party known as APC. They have the NPP and other parties. They are actually leading Sierra Leone. This party was actually dominated by the Creole. But when SFPP was being formed to fight for the people into the interior, it was divided based on tribal basis or on tribal line. While SFPP was in London negotiating how to grant Sierra Leone independence, you have the like of Siaka Stephen, who eventually ruled Sierra Leone over 20 years. He came back into Sierra Leone and formed the APC, that is the All People Congress, terming the SFPP to be like a Nendeman party. And he came and formed the APC, which is actually has the northern reflection. Most of the APC ranks were being dominated by people into the north, principally the Libas and the Timinis, the Yanonkas and other people, as long as they are in the north. So the SFPP also assumed that the SFPP, being that most of the rank of the SFPP we are like headed by the Mende people, so they also consider themselves to be like the Southerners and the Easterners. So that was why when the SFPP lost election in 2007, there was an agenda of political vendetta. The SFPP headquarters were being burned. Their politicians were being attacked. Some of them even escaped to America, the like of Honorable Victor Reda, who was so sound, so on radio station, challenging everything that APC will project. And by then, the SFPP, before SFPP lost the election, they have a divided party, like the PMDC, People Who Vote for Democratic Change. It was a kind of breakaway party from the SFPP. So there was total repression, total destruction, maybe attacking former government officers. And that was not what happened actually into Liberia, because those two parties that contested the election, maybe they were not as old enough into the country political history compared to the SFPP and APC, which were actually formed an ideology created on tribal and regional mentality. So when we also saw in 2012, SFPP still lost the election. There was repression, that was attack and whatsoever thing. But at the end of the day, SFPP considered still defeat. In 2018, we saw APC losing the election to SFPP. When APC lose the election to SFPP, we are seeing the Anti-Graft Commission being formed to fight against corruption. And according to the SFPP, APC was leading like a high criminal racketeering enterprise, where you have like government officers who will sit down to criminalize the economy of the country. They came with a criminal agenda, they enriched themselves, corrupted the nation, created our wealth, we create amassed wealth overnight, and at the detriment of the country. And most of them became rich overnight. They looted the central bank and did whatsoever thing. That was not how it actually went into Liberia. So if you can see, basically, post-elections or post-wars elections are actually better conducted into Liberia compared to Sierra Leone, just because the parties that are winning elections into Sierra Leone are not new parties. They were there even before the Civil War, and they are existing. These are parties that were actually formed on tribal basis. And irrespective of what you think and feel, each time SFPP in power, they will tell you that it is a party that belongs to the Southerners and Easterners. When I observed the election into Liberia, Joseph Nwabwaka won the election today, but he did not only just win because he's coming from Lofa County. He almost got the result from all the district into Liberia, and all the counties into Liberia. That tells you that Liberia's system is a bit different from that of Sierra Leone. In fact, basically, George Weah did not have an absolute stronghold where he clinched all results. But when it happened into Sierra Leone, you could see into certain stronghold, he will clinch all report. Let me just say, if you come into like in the place that we are in Kailan, Kenny, Makono, in Bo, Bones, Moyamba, Pujo, these are administratively dominated areas. Only see few votes coming to the APC. All the rest will go to SFPP. If you go into the north, places like Bombale, Potlok, and by the way, even tell you that for SFPP to have a single vote will be very difficult because it will be contested on political agenda. So the election is being tribalized. So in Sierra Leone, I'm not saying Liberia does not have tribal mentality into election. They do not have regional mentality into election. But it is so strong into the elections in Sierra Leone compared to Liberia because of this party formation and the notion on which they were formed, and because of their longevity into Sierra Leone's political agenda. And for far too long, it is either the APC or the SLPP. It is just like when you're having the Republican and the Democrats into places like America. You have the Labour and the Republican or the Conservative into Great Britain. So only them will win. So irrespective of what happened, but that is why, like over there, I will tell you that the swing state in America, we have another swing district into Sierra Leone, like the Kono district. It is very peculiar and history is so good because the Kono belong to the Kono people. And to them, they will submit their own agenda. If the government fails to turn up to that of their agenda, the next election, they will not vote for you. And most of them into the district are actually Kono people. So whatsoever thing they do, they have their own Kono agenda that they can definitely insert. So you watch at it, for far too long, or a post-war election, Liberia is a bit better compared to Sierra Leone.
Thank you. And I agree too. Liberia has been doing a little better when it comes to post-war elections. And even Liberia has a strong history of doing better with election way before the war. You know, when the state was established, there were elections. According to our history, at some point, elections were being held in Liberia every 4 years. Peaceful transfer of power is not new in Liberia, is historical. Joseph Jikin Robert, turned power over to, the one who succeeded him and on and on. So we have Joseph Jikin Robert, Stephen Ebesin, that we wanna. Those were peaceful transfer of power from one president to the other, and even all the way to Oldman Tubman, who maintained power for 27 years, died in office. So you can see it was another peaceful transfer of power to, Tubman, and then Joe stepped in and launched a coup and assassinated the president. And he would go and rig an election, and that would contributed to the war, others would say. So we have had a peaceful transfer of power. Joshua is not the first person to concede defeat in Liberia. The only thing that is that he conceded prior to the official and final announcement of the results. That is maybe a little new phenomenon there. I don't know about the history in the past, but in recent history, he's the first African leader who called and concede and even give a speech, prior to the announcement of the official and final result, and that is something. But Joseph Boakai did similar thing. And many people maybe have forgotten that when Joseph Imam Boakai lost the election to President Weah, he gave a brilliant concession speech. Joseph Boakai did that. So Weah is not the first person to give a concession speech, and that is a plus for Liberia, and that is why even other African nations are commending Liberia, that Liberia is becoming a very big example in terms of democracy by conducting free and fair elections, even if the elections are not as free as we would want it to be, but there's some form of freedom that the citizens are participating and deciding their own leaders. That is a good thing, and Liberia is better than Sierra Leone, when it comes to that. Edward, because of time, let's talk about three things so quickly here. We can't get to all. Let's look at employment, and let's look at the fight against corruption, and let's look at the participation of women in leadership, specifically in government. And I will take the lead here. When it comes to youth empowerment in Liberia, I will say we are at a very low point. You know that Liberia population is predominantly youthful. The report, I believe, said about 60+%, it's a youthful population in Liberia, and many of the youth, as we know it, they don't have employment. Employable skills are not plentiful. Maybe there are other institutions here, they're not maybe, but there are other institutions there that are teaching some skills, tailoring, but I don't see emphasis being placed on these skills, employable skills, those skills that people can use to be able to even earn their own money. I don't see that much emphasis being placed on those skills by the government. And I know the government runs a program at the Ministry of Youth and Sport, purposely to give employable skills to young people, and young people are participating. I know there's a budget for that. I had one of the deputy minister from the Youth and Sport Ministry, and he mentioned that they are graduating people, but it is not significant if you look at the entire youthful population. So unemployment in Liberia, it's a delicate thing, right? Because to be employed, those who are expert in the area will say that, well, anything one does to earn a living is an employment. And so the unemployment rate in Liberia is not as low as we think it should be, because we don't see people working in what we consider standard jobs, right? So I don't want to go into that territory, but the fact is that many youths in Liberia are unemployed, they are hustling. But when you come to employment history, so well, if the person is having a wheelbarrow, market, or wheeler market, that person is employed because that person is doing something to earn income. But again, we know that the kind of employment that we see in Western countries, where young people are going to work doing, we don't see that in Liberia. Women participation in government, it's been far too long now. We have had few women in government, especially at the legislative level. Joy Howard Taylor is Liberia's vice president. Now, she served as senator for one of the counties for 2 terms, I believe so. We have, I think, a single female senator now, who is Senator Lawrence. And we have few female that you can count by your finger who are represented. The men continue to dominate at the legislative level. Even at the cabinet level, men continue to dominate. We have more men as ministers, directors, and in government compared to women. But President Weah and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf have done significantly well by appointing more women in government, I believe, compared to previous government that we have in Liberia. So Liberia is doing okay. They are not there yet. I know they try to pass a law to compare certain number of seats to be allotted to women. I don't know how in a democracy you're going to, implement that. But I think Liberia is getting somewhere. Erin appointed more women in government. We are there similarly. And women are now aspiring for elected position and appointed position in Liberia. A lot of women who are contesting. You see a lot of female candidates compared to, let's say, before the year. So we are getting somewhere with that in Liberia. And finally, I want us to talk on agriculture. Liberia has not been able to feed itself by growing food in Liberia. Most of the food we eat, rice specifically, imported rice, right, coming from China, coming from India. People are even importing rice from the U.S. business people for us to eat when we have the land to grow our own food. Many people believe that Liberia are doing better before the war in terms of food production to feed ourselves. I don't have a better knowledge than that because I didn't see it. So that's how it is in Liberia. I don't know about Sierra Leone when it comes to women participation and youth empowerment and employment. How is it there?
Oh, thank you very much. Maybe kudos first to Liberia because to give a dog a bad name and hang it. After the Civil War, Liberia sets a peculiar history by making the West African nation to have the first ever female president with respect to Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And George Oponweya came, he also took Jewel Howard Taylor to be his running mate, and he successfully won the election. And I think Ellen Johnson Sirleaf also had few ministers, as you rightly mentioned, who are actually serving as ministers under her governance system. Maybe Sierra Leone also is doing a bit better into the participation of females. Although we have not set a peculiar history like what Liberia has done, also we are seeing like Samini Suluku, like that is the president of Tanzania, and we also know that the president, although she's a ceremonial head, the one in places like how do you call it, this country, the president in Ethiopia is also a female. For Liberia, I mean for Sierra Leone, we have not actually done better in terms of giving females classical position like becoming the president or vice president. However, you have a lot of women into Sierra Leone who are actually serving as ministers. Like the former head minister, who is now the Zainab Hawa Bangura, is definitely working with the United Nations. They also having like ministers, deputy minister, fishery minister, different other people who are actually serving as minister in Sierra Leone government. They are actually females. And of late, Sierra Leone passed a bill like, irrespective of what happened in political arena, if symbols are to be awarded from each political party, 100%, 30% of those symbols should go actually to females. Then even in the employment institution, all institutions of employment should ensure that females, 30% of those employees should be female. And even when it comes to key decision-making positions, any administration or management or executive positions to ensure that 30% of those positions actually go to female. And the only question it should be like based on merit. That is actually on paper in theory that's been passed, and the parliament actually stamped it. It is passed into law. And it just came in last year, and Sierra Leone is definitely working on it to ensure that it is fully infected into the system. Then fortunately, the current dispensation of team still maintain the power because they actually passed that bill into parliament, and the bill now is into a law. So we're expecting it to be definitely infected. Then when you watch like youth employment, I think as the demography of Liberia, so it is in Sierra Leone. Majority of the population is actually youthful. But employment of youth in Sierra Leone is on the scale of 30 to 40%. And it depends on how you define the youth into Sierra Leone. It should be like within the age from 18 to 36. That is how Sierra Leone standard of youth definition comes in. But fortunately for the latest cabinet system into Sierra Leone, or the minister, most of them are actually youth. We're actually seeing people who we are having, some people actually under the APC serve as minister, they even serve as minister under a BO-led government in the first 5 years into office. But now we are seeing a total change of system. Majority of the ministers are actually being appointed on youthful position. So youth employment is actually taking in. But they are also giving youth the power to participate into certain things. But by and large, employment, when we speak of employment, majority of those who are unemployed are actually youth. And majority of the graduates are youth, but they are definitely unemployed. That is why you are seeing in the system, a lot of cry is being done because those of us who are unemployed are youth. You can be educated, but employment is definitely very difficult for you to come about. And before this time, we're having a retirement age to be like 60. I think the government is trying to create a system to extend it, I don't know, to be 66 years old. Some debate we are actually being made like, some people will take too long into the service as volunteers. They will not be given the opportunity to employ. Some people can even be employed in their last 10 years when they will have a government PINCO. These are the 6-digit number government will give you to say that you are also a retired and pension civil servant. And before ever you are entitled to get your savings, like your retirement benefit, you must have served the government for 15 years. So let's assume that you are given an employment by government in your last 10 years, you'll not be given any retirement benefit. So they have now decided, it's a bill that actually been passed. They are negotiating to see that how our retirement age can be extended to 66 years. So that when people are even being employed, like in 10 years, you still have an opportunity to have your NASI, that is your retirement benefit, because you will be in position to serve for another 16 years. Because if you are given position when you have 10 years left, but when it is at the age of 60, some people only will become employed in their last 5 or 6 years, and some people have the opportunity to be employed maybe lower than that. When it comes to agriculture, we are living in an agrarian society. Unfortunately, I think agriculture is one of the low level the manner in which people watch at agriculture are quite different. But government is spending huge amount of money on agriculture, because since we are in an agrarian society, we believe that we can till our soil to live. But unfortunately, we depend on rice that has been made or produced in China, in Egypt, or other Western African countries to be sent into Sierra Leone. So this government passed an agenda. According to the APs, to the SLPP 2018 policies, that almost each and every minister should have farms on their own. They should have swamps, they should have acres of land where they produce rice. And to be honest enough, most of them are actually involved into the production of rice. There's a very close town in Kenema where I'm living, Blama. You are having like the former chief minister, he established a farm over there. They produce rice and they send this thing. You can see it on the market. But still, we see people politicizing. Yes, I agree that it can be politicized because the rice are being produced by politicians, but at least there is solid move being made. So in terms of agriculture, it is not hugely invested or taken into high esteem as we are expecting it to be. But some amount of moves have been made. But irrespective of how we are utilizing our soil, unfortunately, the amount of money that government is investing into agriculture is not what we are realizing. Then up to now, Sierra Leone still depend on rice that is being made or produced abroad. That is why even trust me, well, based on how Sierra Leone money is now suffering from inflation, Liberia money is better than Sierra Leone, and Guinea money.
Sorry, we lost contact with Edward Amara there, our West Africa correspondent based in Freetown, Sierra Leone, who has joined us to discuss the topic, how are things in the Republic of Sierra Leone? Our focus has been on the similarities of these two countries, Sierra Leone and Liberia. With that said, this is how we will come to the end of this edition of our program here at Focus on Liberia. I'm Anson Nsie, and I have been hosting. Until we see you again, when we do, enjoy the song that says we are all Liberians, and we will see you maybe later today. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians.